talk to you today about Elvis Presley.
You did?
Yes.
I loved Elvis Presley.
And
When I was a boy, people used to think I looked like him. I had a big Elvis hair, you know. I did, seriously. I loved him.
Well, NBC.
There were two icons in the 50s that made all the difference in our lives. It was Elvis Presley and James Dean. And they had a profound effect on our culture. And they still do. It's amazing, isn't it? You didn't think I wanted to talk about it, did you?
Well, basically, NBC is going to be airing "Loving You," you know, a classic Elvis Presley
Is that
film,
right? Yeah.
And we just wanted to get reactions on the impact Elvis had in your life, and you know, what.
Oh,
memories do you
it
have?
was overwhelming, you know, because Elvis was the first male singer that was equally loved by boys and girls. I mean, I'm going back to the 50s, you know, when I was growing up as a teenager in Ohio, and where we took our music very serious. And when we spent a nickel to hear a song, you know, in a jukebox at a restaurant or a club, why, it was big, you know. And there was no hesitation with Elvis, for boys and girls. You know, very often the boys would prefer a girl singer, Patti Page, or any one of those that were popular at the time. And the girls would always go for Perry Como and Frank Sinatra and all until Elvis came, and Elvis kind of brought us together. There was no hesitation with playing Elvis's stuff on either side, boys and girls. He was unbelievable. He was revolutionary, you know. I mean, he just changed the way we listened, and had a profound effect on all of us, culturally and musically and emotionally and spiritually, everything. Yeah. Still miss him, man. You know, it's hard to believe he's gone because there's so much still reflective of him, you know.
Absolutely. Now, he was definitely one of the first rock and roll stars to cross over into doing movies. You know,
Yes, he was, yeah. Well, at that time, though, they used to do a lot of rock and roll movies, per se. They would film concerts and then film a story around the concerts. That fellow from Cleveland who invented the term rock and roll, I forget his name. Tell me his name straight away.
I don't know his name.
Anybody know who that was? Who invented rock and roll, the term? You know, from Cleveland. He founded it.
Alan
Freed.
Alan Freed. Alan Freed would organize these concerts, and they would be filmed in black and white at the time, of course. But you'd see Little Richard and, Fats Domino and so many of the groups as well. Although Elvis never did any of those, but they were very popular. And they were not, you know, A movies, but they were very important to us, and we'd stay and see them 2 and 3 times in one showing, you know. And so, but Elvis was a movie star. He wasn't like a singer who did movies. He became a movie star. The unfortunate part about it is that he was not, and I'm not making this up, I mean, he expressed a disappointment that he was not groomed to be an actor more. He loved James Dean, too. He was very influenced by James Dean, and he really wanted to be a serious actor, but he was not managed well at the time. And so there was no serious attempt to get him on that another level, acting-wise, so that he could do films with people he admired the most, you know, that were so powerful. Then Marlon Brando and Monty Cliff and all those wonderful actors that were doing movies in those days. He wanted to work with those people, but they had another image of him, and so he never grew as an actor. That's unfortunate, because that's really what he wanted to do.
Now, is there anything that stands out in Elvis's career to you? Any specific concert or any specific, you know, song or movie? When you think Elvis Presley, what's the one thing you think of?
I remember very specifically seeing his first movie over and over again. It was Love Me Tender. And he came to our neighborhood movie house in Dayton, Ohio, the Sigma Theater up on Brown Street. And at the time, it cost 25 cents to get in there, and I couldn't wait to get there because I wanted to. I'll tell you frankly, we thought he was going to be the one to fill the void that James Dean had left. We thought, he's the one, man, you know. And he was very good in that movie. They still had him singing, you know. He sang the title song, but he sang it on screen. So it was great to see him sing whenever. You know, I'd take him singing, you know, on anything. But I was more curious to see how he was as an actor. We were so desperate for a new hero in the cinema, you know, and for a while he filled that. You know, I saw that film maybe 10 or 20 times just to see him, you know. Richard Egan was his co-star. Yeah, I saw it a lot.
So now, is there a song that sticks out in your mind, out of, you know?
Oh,
there's
so many of them. Yeah. I guess it's been said, you know, I'm kind of radical, and I think of music having an effect on the culture, on the society. He didn't do that kind of music. If you had to think of one song that had an importance, in a sense, you know, in a social justice way, it would be In the Ghetto, you know. That song there really got to me, and he did it beautifully. And I was disappointed that he didn't do more of that kind of work. He just wasn't influenced by that kind of, like Dylan or the Beatles. I mean, he loved them, but he wasn't drawn to that, you know. He didn't compose any music. You know, he didn't write anything. So he was kind of boxed. That's kind of the tragedy of Elvis's life, is that he was boxed where he began. So he grew tight in that box, and he never got out of it, basically, until toward the end of his career, when he went back on the road, when he started in Vegas and he started live performing. But by then, he was a troubled young man, you know, and horribly addicted, so he wasn't free then. But when he started, I think he really had serious aspirations about becoming a serious actor. And they just wouldn't let him out of the box because they had a jewel there. They had the golden egg. You know, they knew they could count on him where he was, and so they left him there. And he couldn't get out of the box. And I think that had a lot to do with what happened to him later. He was unfulfilled, despite the fact that he was worshipped worldwide as the king of rock and roll. I mean, he'd pack him in. He's still packing him in. He's been gone how many years? But his own personal development, his own spiritual development was hampered because he made it so fast, so big. There wasn't anything that he had to model on. There was nobody who had ever been there before. I mean, he was getting sunburned from his climb. He never saw anyone. There was no one who had any ointment for that kind of sunburn. I mean, he went so fast, so high, so quick. Nobody knew how to deal with him. So there wasn't anyone close enough to him that said, you know what, you have another way we're going to go now, and you're going to have to let go of all this other stuff. It's going to cost you. It's going to be painful. But it's the one thing that you're going to later be glad you did. You're going to grow. Growth is the most. Success is a sometimes thing, but growth is forever. Success is a whole mess of failures that are understood, finally. That's success. So I always felt badly for Elvis that he didn't realize his personal growth, which would have been reflected in his career enormously. So.
Well, great. We're just about out of time. So
I have a few thoughts on Sinatra. How much time we got? Is that okay?
All right.